And not only are they not enough, they also make these facilities more inhumane. So not being able to see your family is
Right,
inhumane.
right,
Being
right.
in an isolation unit is
Mm,
by many definitions torture.
mm-hmm.
So it's they don't really necessarily help, and they're also just horrible. So thinking about releasing folks being really the only solution that makes sense to me, and to a lot of folks that call themselves abolitionists, or just even folks that just care about people that are inside of these prisons.
Yeah. And you brought up abolitionist, right? So I want you to like kind of define that and what that
Yeah,
means. And yeah, what is that?
definitely. And I'm gonna have to give a lot of shout outs because
Mm,
we've all learned and grown, and I've learned and grown from some particular organizations. But abolition is this idea that, so you have the prison industrial complex, which is the
mm,
system of policing, surveillance, imprisonment.
mm,
It's the idea that we don't need those things to keep our communities safe and to keep our communities healthy, but we actually are thinking of a future where we don't have those things, and instead we have food, we have stable housing, we have access to healthcare, and we have radically different societies where the various causes of harm that we're seeing just like have been eradicated. So to the extent that sexual violences are caused by like patriarchal systems,
right.
we change that. To the extent that folks are reacting to racist histories and underinvestment in their communities in certain ways, we start changing that. To the extent that poverty is a huge driver of harm between people, we address poverty and we address the systems that cause poverty. So it's thinking about a future where we can have these just like radically different societies where we all care on each other like a whole bunch, and where our resources are going towards care and not towards a system that continues to harm us. Thinking about the
Right.
system as a form of violence that our communities are facing.
Right. So that's important because abolitionist, it's not just that you want to abolish prisons, it's also about abolishing systems, right? Is it
Building
equally
up too.
right? So is it
Yeah.
equally both of those things? Like, is the goal that once you have these systems in place, that we wouldn't need this complex, right? This is
Yeah.
that the goal of ultimate goal of okay.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
definitely think abolition, it sounds like you're just ripping something down,
Right,
but
right.
the most exciting part of abolition to me is the building up those alternatives, building up those networks of care, building up strong relationships between people. So if someone is like maybe going through a rough patch, they have someone that will take care of them and help them get through that, and we're not moving into like maybe a potentially harmful situation, right? We're not where someone will do something where they cause harm to themselves or others. So it's thinking about what we need to build up to really really authentically care for each other as like a whole society.
Right. And I want to, there's more questions I want to ask, but I think I want to follow the flow so we can, make sure we hit all these points
Yeah,
on
definitely.
that, on what you just talked about. So thanks for mentioning what has been done so far. I'm trying to see if there's anything, I needed to add. I think you were pretty holistic in what was done. I know the one thing I wanted to add was that, um, like, I know Kamala Harris is supporting all low risk inmates, right? Um, Including those in pretrial detention because they can't afford to make bail to be released, I believe. So there's calls for more to be done.
Yeah.
Not enough again, like because again, this is a systemic issue. So it's not like we can, all government officials are going to do everything right. All of a sudden, it's going to be fine. It's not going
Mhm.
to be, um, and we hope that more will, push to have more just solutions to, like you talked about, right?
Definitely.
Where we're being humanizing when we think about what we're doing. And I think, like, I also want to bring up, I think the reason that the only solutions right now so far, like you mentioned, are almost all dehumanizing, like, putting them in solitary confinement, not involving visitation. Like, I think that is testament to the system we've kind of created, right? So that when we are in a crisis, like, unfortunately, that's what we can do. And
Yeah.
it also made me think of like releasing. Like, I know a lot of them that are released were going to be released within 60 days, but thinking about like, um, even just making sure like we have a just way of transitioning these folks to like, homes and work and just mental health and all that. And I know we don't have those systems in place because I hear so many, and I don't know if you want to quickly
Yeah.
speak to this, like what about that system of like, we're releasing now a mass amount of people, inmates, right? And do we have a society where they're ready to function? Like, do we have services that we could provide them, like job transitioning and things
Yeah.
like that? And I could already think it's not even an ideal time to think about that. And then that's also inhumane to me, like, because obviously
Yeah.
releasing them into more crisis, like, there's that comes up too, like. how are they going to adjust, especially in this time, right? Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a huge issue, and like folks are thinking about that too. So I forgot to shout out some of the orgs I was talking about. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
think.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is because these and this is all of their analysis. So I'm not trying to claim any of this. Folks are thinking about that. They're thinking about like, not only do we need to stop the flow of people inside, not only do we need to release them, but we also need to invest in the resources that these
Right.
people are in need. And unfortunately, we're not really there yet. But it's like can you do things one at a time, or do we need to do them all at once? And with this, like, I think for a lot of folks, the urgency is like, we need to release folks and we need to build up those systems at the same time. But yeah, I think that like, so like to think about other campaigns that are like calling for folks to be released, there's a lot of like hashtag free them all campaigns, or like
Yeah.
let them go campaigns. And
Mm-hmm.
and these are national, these are
Right.
state focused, these are local, and there are a lot of people that are fighting for these, for the release of folks from prison. So
Yeah.
for anyone interested, there's definitely a lot of work happening in that
Yeah.
front.
And I know I have one of my team members listening. I know there's a change.org like petition as well, right? So maybe we can post that in the comments. And yeah, I see like a lot of like hashtag, a lot of campaigns happening. Okay. All right. So let me see what my next question was right here. Okay. So what are the larger implications? We already kind of addressed this, right, of the prison industrial complex. We were starting to talk about this. And I know we're kind of getting towards the end. I'm trying to see like, some things, I guess something we could talk about is like, again, like the holistic nature of this, because I think, I don't know, I think COVID has brought out like how reactive our government is, and how in there's a lot of gaps, right? There's a lot of gaps in mental health care, in, how in our prison industrial complex, and even just having a prison industrial complex is an issue, but healthcare and stuff. And so like, and I think that's kind of what like prompted me to run for office too, because like I really think there's this great work happening in organizing, right? I've seen this happen in my district a lot, and maybe you have similar experiences. You are an organizer, so I know you see that. But it's been disheartening to see how like even now, like thinking about even mutual aid and all the great things that are going on, that when government has so much money and so much resources, right, that they're not doing so much, and that it's very reactive. And I'm glad these things are happening, but it's almost like too little too late, right? Too little too late. And
Definitely.
frankly, yeah. And so that's something that's really like important to me, and I know to you as well. Like, and that's kind of my anger in like wanting to, I guess, be in the role I'm in right now and try to do this. And because I feel like a lot of people say, like, even when you have like a Democrat up there, right? Like, it's like, what does that mean though, right? It should be about is our policymakers, regardless of party, doing enough for the people? And it doesn't matter that we're just like, oh, we're a state that's blue and we have people that are Democrat. Are those Democrats even doing enough is the question, right? And we're seeing that, like, there's stories of like, teenagers dying because they can't afford healthcare because of COVID. And so, yeah, I don't know if you wanted to add to that, just, the whole systemic nature of, like, I guess the way I look at it is that we need organizers, we need change to be from the bottom up, but the change won't get all the way to the top unless there's people actually listening up there who have the power to now, like, work with organizers and grassroots folks, right? That's just on my mind right now, like,
No, I absolutely agree. I've like actually, so before I got into organizing,
right.
and I'm still like exploring what that means for me, as I have been like learning from organizations such as like Critical Resistance, which is one of the ones I've been learning a lot from, and Californians United for a Responsible Budget, other folks. I actually had a background in policy advocacy, but then, and I think that's super crucial work, but I think I realized that you really do need that mass-based movement for liberation. Like, if you don't have, why are you going to change a system if you're not going to change it the way the people want, or the way the people are demanding? So I absolutely agree with you that it really does, like, you need to start from the bottom, and you need to build there and just be in community and build relationships with folks. It's all about those relationships.
No, it really, really is. And like, I think that's the reason, like, we need, if folks do run for office, we got to hold them accountable to where their interests are, right? Are their interests to these corporate entities, to these private prisons who also give out money to candidates and things like that? Or is it to the people? And are they really there for like the picture or like this one moment of like mutual aid, or are they really there consistently checking with community? And like,
Yeah.
I always tell folks I meet within my district, like, hold me accountable and you should vote me out. Like if I forget that, and I never want to forget that. But I say
Yeah.
that because we have to be humble enough to say that, because if we are lucky enough to be elected and have this position of power, like we have to be able to say, I want you to vote me out if I'm not listening to you. Like,
Yeah.
because it's really important that I think a lot of elected officials can't say that. And I think that's really troubling,
It was
because it
really
means that
scary.
you're not really working for the people, or you're not really, or your main thing is to get elected, and in any way. And unfortunately, the system we're in, they could get elected, right? And that's why people lose faith in the, like, kind of like, I'm not saying you lost faith, but you kind of were like, no, it does happen, and you find hope in other movements. I guess I'm hoping from my end that someone like you could find hope again in government, and in their ability to actually work with organizers and work with the grassroots folks. So
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
excited about this
Oh,
conversation, about where
yay.
this is
Yeah.
going. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, awesome, awesome. So we'll definitely continue this like offline one. Maybe we'll have you on again. Um, you know, but yeah, so I don't,
If I have any more to offer, I will definitely come back on.
oh, you have so much to offer. We just, I feel like we just like touched the surface, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, but I definitely learned a lot. For example, I mean, I'm learning a lot through these myself. Like, I don't think I fully knew what an abolitionist meant, and the work that you're doing. And so that's really impactful and empowering. Oh, and I guess I could say here too, we're having something called, and you might be someone great to have on there actually too. We're having a story, and we're calling it like a storytelling session kind of thing, but like basically like it's this group that where community folks can share stories, and we're kind of want to use that as a gateway to how we can expand and write our policy.
Mm,
So what happened was, when I was doing the primaries, I'm very grassroots, and so I didn't really have a team. I had volunteers, so I couldn't really invest as much time as I wanted in policy and these things like that. But I do want to hash that out more, and so we're going at it from like, let's go to the people doing the work, right? With
definitely.
like abolitionists, like folks doing environmental justice work. And so we're using
Mhm.
this session that we're going to have either in April or May soon to get an initial segue into, let's get all these voices in one room and let's have them share their stories and share the work they've been doing. And from there,
That's incredible.
have like, have a criminal justice kind of circle, and literally listening sessions to hear what you guys are saying about what you want. And go to environmental justice folks and see, and go to health justice folks, and see. So yeah, so I think that's important, not assuming we have all the answers, right? But knowing that folks out there
Yeah.
doing the work on the ground do know and do have all the answers, right? So
And are super excited to share and just learn
yay, we'll
together.
definitely have you back. We'll definitely have you back. So have you ever done something like this before, or is this like the first time? Well, you're like a
No, this is my
natural.
first
Like,
time.
you have the smile down, you have like the lighting perfect.
Oh yeah, I had to turn that on. It was getting a little dark.
No, that was, you did a good job. Yeah, do you have any final thoughts before we kind of close? I'm gonna quickly check before you talk, because I don't want to look down if Tracy said we have any. Oh, there's a question not related. Linda wants to know. Okay, all right. So we have one question, so we'll ask this before we let you have final word here. So Tracy said there's no questions. There's a question that Linda wants to actually know who is in the LA County Central Committee for 8064. All right, so I think that's something, Tracy, Linda, we could answer offline, because I don't know if I know all the folks on the central committee, but we could definitely get that for you, Linda, after. Yeah, and so yeah, definitely do your closing. We might have a final question, but definitely, like, if you want to have any final thoughts, anything you want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to say is just like really again to shout out the folks that are doing the work now. And like they have campaigns right now pushing to get folks out. So if you could support them, that would be incredible. You could really have an impact in the lives of
Yeah.
of these folks and their families. So I'm just gonna just like name some people because I think it's really important to like uplift the people that are doing the
Yeah.
work. So I mentioned already Californians United for Responsible Budget. There's also California Coalition for Women Prisoners. And those are in California. And then at the LA County level, there's Justice LA, who is also part of that first coalition that I mentioned, Californians
Right.
United for Responsible Budget. They have campaigns. Just one of them that is super big that they're currently pushing for is called Clemency Coast to Coast. They're trying to get commutations from governors, and that is both in California and in New York City. So, and then there's like petitions that you can sign. I can share all those links, but
Yeah.
just like get support on on those campaigns, because they're incredible. They're super imaginative and transformative, and they need as much support as they can get.
Yeah. So Paloma, actually, if you could email me those links, or even if you want to share our video, because I know it'll be on the page soon, and then, or you could share them yourself, comment or share, but like email them however you want. But I didn't want to look down while I was saying, so I didn't want to write them down. But if you could email them to me, so I could share.
No, definitely.
So folks can, like, be plugged into this work and join some of the, I'm sure they're having virtual. I know Justice LA is, I think, having one on Thursday. They're having like a virtual meeting, right? Yeah. So they could join and get plugged into these efforts. So
definitely, right, so we'll send you those names. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And I think, let me see if Tracy had any final thoughts or questions. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. So again, I'm Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, candidate for District 64 Assembly, and this is Paloma, organizer and Maywood community resident, right? Also, so thank you so much, and we'll definitely see you soon. All right, bye, Paloma. Take care, stay safe.
You too.